Hello everybody, this is Jeff Murren again. Welcome back. Continuing our conversation on Tim O'Brien's The Things They Carry. In this particular installment I will be discussing Chapter 9, which is titled Sweetheart of the Song Tra Bong. This is yet it's a kind of the story within the larger story. This is not a story, this is several different people removed. So we have our narrator, Tim O'Brien, telling us a story that was told to him or to his platoon by another character named Rat Kiley, and his experiences that he had in another aspect or another area of the war. And so the story actually is what's going on between Mark Fosse, the character Mark Fosse, and his girlfriend, Marianne Bell. So we have the story is Mark Fosse, Marianne Bell, that Rat Kiley was there for. Rat Kiley is now telling it in his platoon, and Tim O'Brien is telling us that story. So it's several people removed from the original story. All right. It's interesting too. We begin this particular chapter where Tim O'Brien says, among the men in the Alpha Company, Rat had a reputation for exaggeration and overstatement, a compulsion to rev up the facts. And for most of us, it was normal procedure to discount 60 or 70% of anything he had to say. If Rat told you, for example, that he had slept with 4 girls one night, you could figure it was about a girl and a half. It wasn't a question of deceit, just the opposite. He wanted to heat up the truth, to make it burn so hot that you could feel exactly what he felt. So here we have that idea yet again. He would exaggerate the truth. They would believe that only 60 or 70, or wait, they would discount 60 or 70%, but it wasn't that he was lying. It wasn't that he was being dishonest. It was that he wanted you to feel the truth of whatever story it was. So again, we have that concept reinforced here, that the precision of a story sometimes gets in the way of the truth of the story. But this one, Rat swears is different. He swears that this one is true through and through 100%, that he's not revving up anything. And it's quite an unbelievable story. He is in a completely, the story takes place when Rat was in a completely different, he wasn't with this platoon, he wasn't serving in this particular capacity where he is with Tim O'Brien. He was somewhere else where talks about where it was just kind of loosey-goosey compared to anything else in the war, compared to anything else in the military. They could let their hair grow, they didn't have to, polish their boots, and they could, eat, drink, whatever they wanted to, hang out and stuff like that. So it was totally different, very informal, all right? And so one night they're talking about, hey, why don't, we could get some women to come in here, and we could have ourselves our, boy fun with the girls around, or whatever the case may be. But they dropped it because they knew it was a pretty ridiculous proposition. However, Mark Fosse seemed to be really stuck on the idea. He couldn't let it go. And eventually, a chopper shows up, and his girlfriend from back home steps off the chopper. And she is, this fair-skinned blonde girl from the Midwest, and, just pure innocent teenage girl, all-American cheerleader type. And they bunk up together, and she stays there and is kind of becomes sort of chummy with the guys and part of the whole crew and part of the landscape of this entire experience for the boys, until there's a shift. and she kind of takes on a different persona. And then there's the argument, does she take on a different persona, or is this persona that is she becoming more herself? There's some Green Berets there, and so she starts going on a night watch ambush with the Green Berets. And I don't know if you know anything about the Green Berets, but the Green Berets are a very elite group of trained military personnel. And she starts hanging with them, and she starts going out on night watches and ambushes with them, and bunking down with them. And, he feels, oh no, I've lost my girlfriend. They were going to get married, live in a cute gingerbread house on Lake Erie, and all. They had this, ideal for themselves once the war was over. However, she becomes so incredibly ensconced in this war herself. She takes on the persona of a soldier herself, and one of the elite soldiers herself. And it becomes so incredibly, she becomes so incredibly entrapped, not entrapped because she's there for herself, that she just leaves all together and becomes one of them. If you'll read with me, there's a section, it's on page 101 in my edition, right before the break on page 101. It says, "It was then," Rat said, "that he picked out Mary Ann's face. They were coming in through the dark, the Green Berets and her. It says, her eyes seemed to shine in the dark. Not blue," which is what they were described as before, "not blue, though, but a bright, glowing jungle green." It's almost as like she has become so much part of this, that jungle green, being a part of the jungle, part of this entire effort here, that it is illuminating from within her and out her eyes. It's almost like she has just swallowed this whole thing and has taken it within herself, so much so that it's actually projecting from the inside out. It says, "When she came in through the wire that night, I was right there. I saw those eyes of hers. I saw how she wasn't even the same person no more. What's so impossible about that? She was a girl, that's all. I mean, if it was a guy, everybody'd say, hey, no big deal. He got caught up in the nom shit. He got seduced by the greenies." It's not something they ever expected, she being female. And it goes on to where she goes full almost beyond soldier, to where she even wears a necklace made of human tongues. And she says, there's this one scene, this is on page 104, across the room, a dozen candles were burning on the floor near the open window. The place seemed to echo with a deep wilderness sound, tribal music, bamboo flutes, and drums and chimes. But what hit you first, Rat says, was the smell. Two kinds of smell. There was a topmost scent of joss sticks and incense, like the fumes of some exotic smokehouse, but beneath the smoke lay a deeper and much more powerful stench, impossible to describe. It goes on there to talk about what she has laid out, and I do not want to give it away. I want you to actually read this book and not rely on me. But what he sees there is so incredibly troubling. And what happens is, towards the end, she even leaves the greenies, as they're called, the Green Berets, and she vanishes into Vietnam. And the legend has it that she essentially becomes part of the jungle, part of the landscape. When they see the enemy, they see her. When they see Vietnam, they see her. When they see anything, she just still is in their conscience, but she's gone, completely departed from the cheerleading high school girl that she was when she arrived. And towards the end of the chapter, Rat says, what happened to her? What happened to all of them? You come over clean, and you get dirty, and then afterwards, it's never the same. And so it's not just that these military guys are experiencing these things, but just somebody who came in what seemed like for a pleasant visit to try to shack up with her boyfriend for a little while. This all got to her as well. And again, we're not exactly sure if this is how the story goes, if there's any truth to it or not. But we get the sense that it doesn't really matter. That it is true, regardless of how accurate it is. That this war is a very powerful thing, and it affects anybody involved in it, even those who aren't there for the purpose of fighting a war. So anyway, I want you to really read this chapter. It's a captivating, amazing chapter. With again, it's not for those with a weak stomach, so you've been warned. All right, keep reading. I'll keep making these videos discussing the chapters as I come to them. I hope you enjoy this book. It's an excellent book. Happy reading.